Hello everyone out there. I think you guys can see my stream. Can you hear me? Testing, testing, yes. I heard we got a shout out. Alexandra from Colorado, hello. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm gonna switch over my screen here for a second. Hi everyone, thanks for joining. This is Configura's live stream. I am Kelsey DeBruin, and we are here today to talk about a very exciting topic, and that is a new promotion that we have here at Configura and a new course. So Kelsey Haldane is here in the room with me. She's going to flag me down. If you guys have any comments about or questions about what we're covering today, just let me know. She was just doing something with her hair, and I thought she was like flagging me down. She's like, no, you're good. Keep going. Okay, so yeah, thank you guys for joining me. I know this topic was supposed to be a little bit earlier in the year. I was going through the previous live stream videos, a couple of them, just to make sure I wasn't wearing this shirt in any of them, because how embarrassing would that be if I was wearing the same shirt in 2 live streams? No, seriously, I really did go back and look for that. But what I noticed is that in the previous live stream, I said we're going to talk about this topic in April. Clearly, we're at the second half of May, and we're now talking about it, but it is a really great topic. We definitely wanted to keep it on the schedule. We just had some technical difficulties. But we're here now, so thank you for your patience. And again, thank you for joining. We're going to have an awesome guest join us near the second portion of the live stream today, and her name is Alexandra Tseffos with Silent T Consulting. So we have a lot of great things lined up for you today. Let's get into it. So first thing that we have is our new promotion at Configura. And that new promotion is CET Designer for Salespeople. And it's kind of what it sounds like. So CET Designer can actually be used in a sales role for selling. And I know when you hear CET Designer, you're like, well, CET Designer, it's for designers. And it totally is, definitely for designers, but it actually can be used really well for salespeople and in the selling process. So we put this promotion in place to give salespeople the tools that they'll need to use to successfully work with CET Designer in their role as well. Now, if we teach salespeople how to use CET Designer, does that cut out the designer in this whole process? No, 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 no. Absolutely not. The designer in this whole process has knowledge that none of us have about product knowledge, how the software works. So the designer is always going to be a crucial part in a dealership with a project or a client from start to finish. But if we can teach a salesperson how this tool works, that can really streamline the whole process of a client or a project from start to finish in a dealership. So it's actually a benefit to teaching salespeople how to use CET Designer, because they can work with the actual designer on a project and all the way through, just to streamline the whole process. So we think it's going to be a really great initiative here, and that's why we put this promotion in place, just to make it really enticing to give this a try. And then we also have the course that we've added as well, which is Selling with CET Designer, and we'll talk more about that when we get Alexandra on the call. So what does this promotion look like? I'm going to go out to our academy. That's what we were talking about last live stream. So now everybody is a pro with the academy, and that's where this promotion lives. So I'm going to head out there now. You guys are going to lose my video feed, but that's okay, because I really want you to see what's going on my screen versus the video. But you'll still hear me. And if you can't, Kelsey will let me know. So I'm going to switch that over right now. And before I move on, I'm just going to make sure you guys can see my screen and still hear me. Yes? Okay, cool. All right, so again, this promotion lives in the academy. So you're going to go to the academy, and now you'll see this lovely new section under the academy called promotions. And I want to sing about this new section because Web Team worked really hard to get this up and running for us, specifically for this CET for Salespeople promotion. So we have a brand new category, and it's new and it's exciting and it's shiny and I love it. And you just click it. And now you'll be taken to this new promotions section within our academy. And that is where this CET Designer for Salespeople promotion lives. So again, we have this promotion in place to give salespeople the tools that they need in order to use CET Designer in their role. So that includes this whole package of things to get you comfortable with the software. So let's look at that now. This CET for Salespeople promotion would be, notice the little star down here. This is a campaign that's available to new users whose role is salesperson, account manager, or similar. So just keep that in mind with this promotion. It would be for new users. But what it includes is a 1-year CET Designer license, normal price $1,000 per year. Also will include a 6-month license of project symbols. That's a $200 value. So we're going to equip you with the software because, of course, you will need that. Now, if this applies to you, notice these little 2 stars next to these next 2 lines. Excuse me. This requires manufacturer approval, but if it does apply to you, this promotion could also include a 6-month Hayworth license if you specify Hayworth product, or it could include a 6-month all-steel license if you specify all-steel product. Again, that requires manufacturer approval. You are not guaranteed to get those licenses unless you sell or specify those products and you're approved by the manufacturer. So that's just an FYI. So we're equipping you with the software in this promotion. Now, we also need to train you on how the software works. So we don't just want to give you the software and then have you kind of muddle your way through it. We want to teach you how the software works so that you're comfortable with it. So that is the Intro to CET Designer self-paced course. Normal price of that is $250. So we're going to teach you how the program works. And then also in this promotion is Selling with CET Designer. And that's a virtual course led by Alexandra. And this virtual course is, now that you know how the program works, now we want to teach you how to use it in your role. So you're going to come to Configura for teaching how the CET Designer software works because we're the experts in the software. And you're going to go to Alexandra Tseffos with Silent T Consulting for learning how to actually use the tool in your dealership. If you were to add up all of these items included in the promotion, that is a $1,700 value, and that does not include these 2 items that you would only get if you have approval for them. So for just the license and project symbols, the self-paced course, and the virtual course, that's a $1,700 value. And as you can see, if you were to register for this, we're charging $950. So this is a incredible value here, this promotional campaign, but we just think it's so important that we have this option out there for salespeople. If they do want to start using it, we want to make it easy for you to access and affordable so you can hit the ground running. So if this sounds like something you want to try, it's as simple as hitting this register button, and you would go through a normal registration process where you provide like your email, your credit card information, of course, you got to pay for the thing. And then once you do register, you will receive an email with instructions. So those instructions will say, hey, here's where you go to get to this course. Here's the information about accessing your licenses. And then also included in that email will be a promotional code to access this Selling with CET Designer course. Because you can take this Selling with CET Designer course separate from the promotion. If you already know CET Designer, if you're already familiar with it, you already have a license, you don't have to start from scratch here. You can go right into the Selling with CET Designer course, which has its own separate fee. But if you register in this promotion, this course is included in that promotion, the Selling with CET Designer. So there will be a promo code in that email. So you will be able to sign up for this course for free, because again, it's included in the promotion. All right, so again, this promotion is for new users whose role is salesperson, account manager, or similar, but this promotion is here and it will give you all the tools that you'll need to really hit the ground running. Any questions on this before we move into Selling with CET Designer, where we'll talk a little bit more about this course because it is a special one, and that's when we will have our guest join us out there so we can ask her some specific questions because she's got a boatload of experience in this. But any questions so far? I like to do awkwardly long pauses when I ask for questions, just in case anybody's typing anything.
Is there a promo for a Steelcase license?
Great question. No, there is not a promo for a Steelcase license. That would be one that you can purchase from our marketplace. There are some free manufacturer licenses out there that you could definitely grab from the marketplace, but the Steelcase license is a paid one, and that would be one that you would purchase from the marketplace. Excellent question. Anything else I can help you guys with before we move on? Good. Okay, now let's talk more about selling with CET Designer. So you have your license of CET. You have taken the self-paced training and you've learned how the program works. Now you're ready to learn how to apply the program in your salesperson role. Enter Selling with CET Designer. So again, this is a virtual instructor-led course. That means it's a scheduled course where you have to sign up for a date and a time. That's also available through the Academy. This time though, you'll start with CET Designer. So you'll go to CET Designer. You will head to our scheduled training section. And in that scheduled training section, you will see the course labeled Selling with CET Designer. And you'll see here are our date and time options, seats left, the price. Again, that price is there because you can take this course apart from registering for the promotion. So if you don't need that whole promotion, all those items included with the promotion, you can just sign up for the course, and that would be $250. Now, if you did sign up for the promotion, again, you get a promo code that will get this course for you for free, and you enter that promo code in when you register. So this course, again, is going to show you how do we use CET Designer successfully now that I'm in front of a client and I want to do some live design, or when I'm ready to hand this project off to the designer, how do I get them the information that they need? That is all covered in this course with Alexandra, and you'll see it's a 2-day course from 11 to 2, most days Eastern time. I guess that will change in your time zone, but you'll see it's a small chunk of time for 2 days to learn this Selling with CET Designer course. And when you register for this one, there will be information in there as well about how to get going and how to get started with this course. But that is going to bring up our guest. So I am going to let Alexandra explain all about this course. We're going to do a little interview. I have some questions for her. I'm going to let her introduce herself too, because she's going to be able to supply you with her background, and she's just going to do a better job introducing herself than me. So I'm going to go call Alexandra Tseffos at this point, again with Silent T Consulting. Let me get that going here, if I can. You're gonna switch around a little bit. Don't panic.
Hey, Kelsey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Let's make sure
Yay.
everybody else can too. I'm gonna wait for the go-ahead from Kelsey Haldane. How's it going out there?
Good. I'm in like sunny Palm Beach. Just kidding. This is Minneapolis. But with all these, floral backgrounds in here, it feels a
It
little.
looks tropical.
Yeah, it does.
It looks
It's
tropical.
all alive, but it's still fun.
Oh, good. What was that? Oh, okay. We see, can you just tilt your camera down just a little bit so we can see more of your lovely face? That is perfect.
Yeah, does that work?
That's excellent. Is that what we wanted? Oh, I see. Let me fix it. You know how these things go, right? Technical difficulties.
Always. It can't be easy.
We're almost there. Okay, I think we're back on track. Let me wait for the go-ahead. Okay, we're good.
All right.
Alex is like, what's going on? I don't know what's happening. We're
That's okay. I
saved.
trust both of you.
Okay, thank you for joining us in the lovely, not tropical location, but we're still getting good vibes, so
That's right.
that works. Okay, I want to start with this is the question we always have to start with, but everybody wants to know what's your background? What made you want to do this? Tell us all about your life and everything that we have to know about you.
Awesome. I mean, I know that we don't have time for my whole life, so we'll stick to the basics. So, I started over 12 years ago as a dealer designer at Nordon Business Environments in Appleton, Wisconsin. Loved it, was there for 3 years. And after that time, I met Tracy Lanning, who at the time was running training and support for Configura. And she said, we need to, we need somebody to work for us who speaks Spanish, knows AutoCAD, knows CET, is a designer. I'm like, that is me. Sign me up. I'm there. So I actually worked for Configura for 3 years. Loved my experience there. I traveled out to, I think, a lot of destinations that might be watching this call right now. And then at that point, I moved to Minneapolis just to kind of get off the road. And I worked for Fluid Interiors here, which is another Hayworth dealer. The difference was I joined their business development team. So I am one of the many designers that kind of moved into that sales role. And at the time, I was calling on real estate and end users, and I utilized CET Designer to help the sales process, which is exactly what we're here to talk about today. And so the only other thing I should add is the last 3 years of my life before Silent T, I've been working for CBRE Minneapolis on the tenant rep side. And I have to say, I majorly missed the visualization capability that we had at the dealership, because in real estate, you go and visit spaces, but you don't actually create them as much. So at least in my role. So I'm really excited to be back. And Silent T, I'm working with dealerships on helping them with CT Designer adoption, and obviously this course, because it's critical that we have, I think, more people understanding how they can further relationships through the use of CT on the sales side.
Yeah, so that's a really impressive background. I'm like, okay, I need to step up my game.
Come on, Kelsey.
but no, I mean, it's so impressive to hear you say all those things, because you are seriously the expert in this specific course and the adoption, and an excellent resource. And I'm so glad that you were willing to partner with Configura and join us in this, getting this thing off the ground. So I think if anybody signs up for your course, they are getting a huge bang for their buck on this thing.
Kelsey, come on, I'm gonna start to blush here a little bit.
Okay, now, what made you decide to start using CET Designer as a salesperson? Because that's not always a thing that we equate CET Designer with, using it in the sales role, but obviously it's a pretty cool thing to do, and you have successfully done it. So what made you decide to even give that a go or try it?
First of all, this is not a fair question for anyone that's watching, because when you work at Configura, you're literally designing live in front of people all day, every day. So I had a little bit of this, hidden background to help me with that. But when I was working at Fluid, we actually developed a sales strategy around this, and it worked for us really well. The thing that I loved about it was, two things. First of all, when you're working with an end user client, you can really speed up the process of your relationship when you're designing live with them, because you're truly creating a value to the process. And some of these guys don't have time to wait. We know that. They always show up way too late, right? They're like, we need our furniture in 3 weeks. Well, that's tough. So there's that. The second portion of it is I really realized that I had been calling on real estate. Also, let's not forget about the A&D firms out there, or about, GCs out there that have clients that need furniture. It actually helped with those influencer relationships, because they saw that I was providing value. So holistically, there was a huge value add in this service. And it doesn't mean that it couldn't just be a designer and not someone on a business development team that's providing this. But the training specifically, is for salespeople. It could be for a designer who wants to work in sales too, or helps the sales design process. This, it's all specific to what your dealer situation is.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously it benefited you in your dealership. Give us a few examples of how that did benefit you in your dealership.
Yeah, so there was multiple cases, but the first time that it happened, I think we were all shocked. We avoided an RFP situation. I went into a meeting and I don't bring brochures with me. I hate brochures. And I walked into this meeting thinking that I was the only dealer that was presenting for this situation. And they said, oh, you're the fifth to come in today. And I'm like, oh gosh,
my
okay.
goodness.
I hope they're not RFPing this because, again, they need furniture in 3 weeks. We don't have time for an RFP.
Mm-hmm.
So I whipped out my laptop, opened it up. We actually designed a typical that they had been looking at online live in front of them and gave them a projection of cost. Of course, this was not, most designers are cringing when I say this, it was not a dead on estimate. I told them that, but that was a huge example, was just, being able to avoid that RFP and kind of dig through the weeds and help them make better decisions at a faster rate.
Yeah. And then after you did that quick bit of live design, what did you do as far as incorporating the designer into that?
So that was always the tricky part. And this is dealer by dealer, I think. And this is where, it really, you have to have clear cut examples of where that process stops and starts. And on specific, it might evolve too, you just never know. That being said, for me personally, I would take kind of that upfront meeting and I would just tell them, guys, listen, I'm an expert in broad range furniture, but when it comes to all the details, I have got to get designers involved on this. Mm-hmm. So very shortly after, they would either sit in the meeting with me and kind of get to know this client and evolve their relationship. So that way we could safely transition it. Yeah. And at the beginning, this was not perfect. It took time for us to really figure out how to do it. And I think that's a very dealer specific, detail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think it's great to hear you say, this is where my expertise is at, but these designers have knowledge and expertise that we don't have. So that, I think, is a great thing to note, because it can be kind of scary equipping salespeople with CET Designer, because then the rest of the, portions of the dealership are like, well, where do I fit into this? But there's still definitely a place for everybody when you start using CET Designer in different avenues and different areas of the dealership. It's not just salespeople are now taking CET Designer and they're completing the project from start to finish, because that's too much for one person to do. It's just.
But can we just say that we're trying to avoid that old cocktail napkin? I mean, I think there are so many designers that can relate with that, where a salesperson comes back and they're like, here, make this napkin a real design, right? And they're like, I don't even know what this is. But if we can help that process be at least, embedded in CET Designer, they have something to work from, even if we are missing a cantilever or two, because that's bound to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Why do you think it's important for dealerships to adopt this model then?
Oh man,
That's a loaded
I
one.
think that's a hard question, but my response to that would be, again, 2 points. Number one, technology is really rapidly evolving dealerships. And I think everyone is seeing that with CET Designer. We're also seeing that with, my resource library, with a lot of new and upcoming, technologies. That's all great. But the other side is, who right now is in need of a designer? I mean, I wish that we could do a show of hands right now, because I think everyone would raise their hand, right? Yep. The reality is we have kind of this designer shortage, and so it's creating more hybrid roles across the board within dealerships. And so I think this could help solve for that a little bit at least.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Okay, well, tell us a little bit more about this. Do we have a question? We might have a question coming.
Yay! Bring it on!
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Chad wants to know, when salespeople start using CET Designer, are meetings slower, longer, or quicker, faster?
Okay, so let's just say, after anyone would do my course, you need to spend significant time practicing your art, right? Because this is not just technology. This is truly a part of the sale. I believe it becomes part of that salesperson's art form. So you need to practice. And if that person is completely up to speed and ready to go, I believe you do spend more time in meetings, but there is less back-end prep. Yeah. So in my experience, when you're utilizing this on a first meeting, and let's say it hasn't been qualified yet, let's say you don't know that much about your client. If you sit down with them and you maybe show them the showroom, a few images, whatever, you sit down then and jump into CET, you're probably going to spend 2 hours in that meeting. I'm not going to lie. But after that meeting, if you're setting the right expectations with that client for the next meeting looks like, you're probably getting your designer involved, you are jumping into other things, but you're not having to start from scratch. So I believe you're probably saving major time after that meeting, and then the next meeting you're probably spending again maybe a little bit more than you normally would, but I believe that it really will relieve the time in between meetings that we normally spend just cramming to try and get information, renderings, everything packaged for the next meeting.
Yeah. And it's probably more time on the front end, but maybe even, less time as you get farther in the process too, when everything is this streamlined process instead of, like you said, okay, now we got to start back over when the designer is coming into it. With the salespeople already giving them, a bit of an actual drawing and an actual thing to work off of instead of a cocktail napkin, you can probably hit the ground running a lot quicker.
Right. And I do think too, it speeds up that sales process, which is fabulous. But this is still about the journey for the client. So I remember by the end, when I got really good at doing this at Fluid, I could pretty much predict where they'd land. Not maybe with colors, or I didn't even go into that. That's my designer's, that was totally her realm. But when it came down to just strictly application, I pretty much knew essentially what they were going to buy with a few tweaks. But this is still about their journey. So it's that balancing act of, let's speed up the process, but let's still give them the critical time in between meetings to think about what you've presented and make sure that they have time to gather their thoughts and maybe bring those revisions to the next meeting. And maybe the next meeting is over even Skype. I mean, it could be live in many different iterations in today's world.
Yeah. And I think that's a great point that you just made about it. It's about the client too. And equipping a salesperson with CET Designer helps the client. I mean, of course, it's going to help the dealership, which is maybe what we've been focusing on for a second, but don't forget about the client too, because that's really, what matters. And if this can help their experience too, then for me, it's like, duh, we got to do this.
Yeah, for sure.
So tell us a little bit more about the actual course then.
Yeah. So for anyone that maybe is listening that has been through CET Designer training, the two things that you'll know and probably love are favorites and alternatives. There are going to be things like favorites and alternatives that are part of this course, but we talk about them in a sales capacity. So for example, alternatives, that was one of my biggest tools, because if somebody says, well, now I want to see the panels lower, now I want to see them higher, I could just create multiple alternatives within one drawing to flip back and forth, because the second they want to see them higher, they want to see them lower again. So, it's good to at least have that backup of everything's done and you can just click through. But we're also going to be discussing specific sales tactics. And when I say that, it really is what I mentioned previously, learning to set realistic expectations around CET Designer, and also for what that sales process is going to be like. Because you just did an awesome amount of work in that first meeting, and they saw how fast CET is if you're really proficient, which we will make you. But along those lines, you still need to set that expectation of, my designer is the one who understands literally all of the nuts and bolts of this. So I need to make sure that they review what we've created, and that's going to take X amount of time. So give me this amount of time to do that, and I will make sure that I send you, some follow-up in between for the next meeting, but just making sure everyone's on the same page, because I think that there are certain sales tactics like that if we don't discuss in the course, we'll just have people who use CET really well, but we want them to be able to sell well and make sure that everyone within the dealership structure is happy and that the client understands what that process will be like, because maybe they're not seeing it at the other competitive dealers that they're visiting,
Right. Now, what about like customizing the course at all? Do you offer anything like that?
Yeah, so that's a good question, Kelsey, and that's something that keeps coming up. Is I've had a few people, thank you so much, sign up for this course as individuals, but we also know that some dealers feel like their sales process is completely sacred, and I get that. So if anyone is concerned about their sacred sales process and wants me to customize this course at all, if we have 4 or more people from one dealership say that they're interested, I will essentially mark that course as sold out. And we will make sure that the course is done just specifically for those people and not for any outside participants. Again, it takes 4 more. So that's the only criteria.
Right.
And if anyone's concerned about confidentiality, let me know. I'm happy to sign an NDA so that way anything that we've done will just stay on that call in the circle of trust.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's great for people to know that it doesn't have to be just this out of the box kind of thing. We can work with him, we can customize it, and you can, tweak it towards what works best for them, because as you've said, it probably runs a little bit different at every single dealership, and we want to recognize that. So that is awesome to hear about the customization. Oh, 2 questions.
Yes.
I'm a longtime CET user,
So another question from Chad. He's a longtime CET Designer user. So and he does use it every once in a while in a sales process, it sounds like. What do you think he would gain from this training, the selling with CET Designer?
I think that, and I'm the first one to say this, I think I was one of the first users back in 2006 on Hayworth Canvas extension. And at that point, I don't remember having training until I met Tracy, like way later. And because I had been a little bit more homegrown and I had started utilizing this maybe for things that weren't even being done at that point, I felt like I kind of created my own process, which Chad probably has done as well. And good job. I would say, Chad, if you want to discuss this offline, contact me, and Kelsey, please send him my email address or post it on Facebook. I'm okay with that too. Please, nobody send me creepy emails. But I'm more than happy to share a full topic list and make sure this course is totally right for Chad.
And I think what I would say to that too, we have in CET Designer training, we have people that sign up for maybe the intro class or advanced class saying, you know what, I've never taken a training, I've used it myself, I've learned it myself, and then they realize that there's all these little things, there's always something you can pick up. So I would think that the same is towards your course as well.
And one example of that is I use calculations, as I mentioned previously. I use calculations a little bit differently. I don't, I have kind of my own methodology because that's how it's worked for me. And Chad has probably framed it up a little bit differently. And some of the stuff, because I'm a salesperson, I don't know, I don't want to stereotype, but I feel like my thoughts on calculations are a little bit more broad, right? Again, we're talking estimates. We're not talking about exact numbers. And there might be a tip or trick that I show on that topic where Chad's probably fully proficient in calculations, but I might use it different and it might open up a different thought process for him, or at least challenge some of that thinking a little bit.
Yeah, I would say that's probably spot on. There's always a thing or two that you can pick up. Or maybe just verify, yep, I'm doing this right, and yep, I'm doing this the best way. That's sometimes nice to know, too, that you're
Hands
doing
down.
this in the best way possible. What else?
Yeah, the goal is that this training is super interactive. So I want to make sure that anyone that signs up for it says, hey, I want to learn specifically XYZ. We can shift a little bit, too. I mean, the agenda doesn't have to be the agenda. That's why we're doing live training on this Selling with CET Designer promotion, and I think that's super important.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, sorry. What was that?
It's okay. Second question. Melissa, is this for use while out on sales calls or only in your showroom?
Melissa, is this for use out on sales calls or only in your showroom, or a little bit of both, maybe?
Yeah. Thanks so much, Melissa. I would say both. It's a little bit of a different sale, right? Because if you're hooked up to a huge screen in your showroom and you're able to show applications in the showroom that maybe you've already saved as favorites and populate them in, your CET drawing that way. And I mean, you can use in this showroom all day long, and that's awesome. I would say a lot of what I did was out in the field, and that was probably why I started to hate brochures, is I would just grab my laptop and be like, we can show anything you want right here. Let's do this. And the only constraint I ever had was, is there a place for me to plug in my laptop, if I'm out at a site?
Right.
So that I can show this big so it can be more interactive versus like me and one person standing very close next to me and watching my screen, which can be a little bit awkward at times. But I would say this training is for both, for sure.
Okay. Awesome. Good for now? Okay. I have one more question for you, and then definitely if you guys have any questions while you're listening, let us know before we let Alexandra go here. But just to reiterate, and just so that we're all feeling comfortable with how this is going to fit into a dealership, who's this class geared towards? Does this replace a designer? Does it work together with a designer? How does this go, start to finish type of thing?
Yeah. So I love designers. I am a designer. We want to support designers. So I hope that everyone gets that through their head, that this is not in any way taking the place of a designer. In fact, I would say that this training is for both sales and design in two ways.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think that the promotion is for salespeople, right? So Kelsey, you kind of broke it down earlier into the two different categories. The promotion is definitely geared towards salespeople who don't have the license, right? But we're still offering Selling for CET Designer for the $250 for people who have already done the intro class, Now that could appeal maybe to a designer who is looking to be more a part of that sales and design process and the evolution of what that could be like for their dealership if they're not currently designing live in front of a client. So I do think that that part is absolutely relevant for designers. And we're going to spend a lot of time in this class talking about how sales and design can partner on these opportunities. Or I've also seen a lot of dealers that now have hybrid roles.
Yeah.
So, I think a lot of designers like me are looking for maybe if it's more of a flexible schedule or, the ability to move into sales and, try something new. For anyone that's kind of in that hybrid space, this is perfect for you too. It might not be on the promotion side, but again, $250. I mean, we're happy to discuss what this might look like for you within your dealership as a part of the training.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining, Alexandra. Those are the questions that I had for you, and I think it was so helpful and so thankful that you could join us today because I think it kind of helped us to understand why we're doing this and who it can benefit. And I think everybody needs to go sign up for the class now. And there's some great ones on the schedule. And of course, you can reach out to Alexandra if you have any questions. But anything out there from you guys before we let Alexandra go? Good? How long is your Selling with CET Designer class?
Selling with CET Designer is it's 2 days and it's 3 hours each day. So that's it. We try to make it super simple. I think a lot of the classes are, more geared towards like a mid-morning start if you're on Central Time. So we hopefully should be appealing to all time zones with that. And then, of course, with the course, we have an hour of consulting with me afterwards. And so that can be done, at whatever time you guys want to set it up. And obviously whatever works for both of our schedules. But again, I think that will help with the structural part of discussing, okay, great. Now, how does everything that we learned actually apply in my situation?
Yeah. And just in case anybody didn't hear that, because we haven't mentioned that part yet, and I'm glad you said something, you get an hour of consulting time with Alexandra on top of the course. So now we've all heard that, and now it's like, okay, we have to go do this at this point.
Yeah.
Anything else? We good? I think we're good. All right, well, thanks for joining, Alexandra. I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day, and I'm sure I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Kelsey.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. So that was really exciting. I hope you guys are now kind of excited about this too and just have a better understanding of how this is going to work and why we decided to do this and why we're partnering with Alexandra and Silent T Consulting on this. So go sign up, ask any questions that you might have, and we can go from there. So that is what I have for you guys today. There's just a couple of things that I want to point out because we have some exciting stuff coming up. Next Monday is CET Designer 9.0. So that is going to be releasing next Monday. There are a bunch of free webinars that you can sign up for in our academy if you want to know what all the new features are. So definitely go check out that schedule and sign up for some of those webinars. Just FYI, I want to mention this now, and I think support will agree with me on this one. CET Designer is releasing next Monday, but if you specify and if you use a manufacturer extension, they don't need to release right on that date. And if they choose not to, then you won't see 9.0 come as an update yet. But you will see it very shortly when they do, or soon when they do release their extension onto 9.0. So if you are using an extension that's not ready for 9.0 yet, you won't see the update. If you want to contact your manufacturer to see what date that they're planning to release, you can certainly do that. But yeah, look out for 9.0. That's coming next Monday. And then NeoCon is also right around the corner too. So Configura will be at NeoCon and we'll be doing demos of CET Designer and we'll be talking about 9.0 and we'll be answering any questions that you might have. So if you're going to be at NeoCon, then definitely come stop by our booth. We're booth 75129. So that's on the 7th floor and it's the same location it's been for the past couple years if you've came and visited us in the past. And that's the new exciting stuff. We are going to be doing a recap of NeoCon live stream. So if you can't join us for NeoCon, we'll be doing a live stream the following week to recap what we talked about at NeoCon. But any other questions out there from you guys? We're good? If you are watching this as a recording, definitely add your questions to the recording on Facebook. But other than that, thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.